Do you know what? It's one of those as well. And again, you talk about the forward situation now. Moreno's doing the best he can. We understand that. But there's a certain stat that I always look at, which I always find important, but a lot of people don't really use it, and that's touches inside the opposition box. Because I've done so many sessions over the years where inside the box you can pretty much get a shot from anywhere with the right type of combination plays. And to get 30 touches in the box against Nottingham Forest and have one shot on target, for me, that's an issue.
So we're doing all the things that he wants us to do. We should dominate the ball, dominate the territory, 60% possession. But the XG we had was quite low, wasn't it? The quality of chance we had was quite low. And why is that? So almost like the strength of us, which is our system, where we stand, our positional play, has now become a weakness. Because when you get the ball there, which is part of his strategy, the individualism isn't there to then make that count in a way where you can go past people. So his strength as a coach, he needs to think about this and say, hold on a minute, I need to change. I need to get some freedom into this group. To just think about the game last night. What's your memory of an attacking piece of play? I've got one. When Calafiori popped up, when he popped up, not in an area where he should be, he popped up in an area where he shouldn't be, and did something unexpected, and we all went like that, didn't we?
Yeah.
That's almost speaking to you, saying, this is what we need more of. We need more unstructured play, and he has to embrace it.
It's an interesting one because I think Darren mentioned that Mikel Arteta made a tweak. The tweak that I saw, it might be something different, like correct me if I'm wrong, but bringing Jorginho in the team meant that Declan Rice dropped a little bit deeper, and it was like a double pivot in the sort of base of the midfield, right? And that was, I think, to bring Jorginho into the side but protect us against the transition still, which I don't think you can do really if it's just Jorginho. You can't trust him as the lone six.
The legs are gone,
The legs are not there, So I thought to a degree that worked well in terms of nullifying them. But again, it was about us thinking about how we stop Forest rather than thinking about how we create a bit more freedom within our own team. Yeah. And so having Rice there, yes, it's great with Jorginho, but then Calafiori, who likes to drift inside, can't drift into that area because Declan Rice is there. Then we push Odegaard further forward, which I thought was what he tried to do, get him closer to Merino. But then I thought he was stepping on Ethan Ranieri's toes a little bit in terms of their positioning. And I just thought the tweaks that we made were more to protect us than to kind of take the handbrake off, essentially, and let us go for them. And I get why he did it, away from home, low on confidence after what's gone on, and we're depleted. But I don't know if that's the way I would have gone.
No, I can understand why for the protection side of things he was more worried about transition. And when you look at Nottingham Forest, they are probably one of the most devastating sides on the counter attack. But even the change at half time, Tierney for Calafiori, I think Mikel Arteta said because he's been booked, that's why he changed it. What did you make of that? But also as well, again, we have to touch about Moreno starting up front down the middle. I almost feels like when you start Moreno, there's no then plan B because Sterling come off the bench at the minute, just having no impact whatsoever. So I probably, the West Ham game, would have started with Sterling again and then brought Moreno on after the impact against Leicester. But I almost feel like starting with Moreno, we haven't seen the benefits of that from the beginning of the match.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Because Sterling's not really at it, is he?
No.
He's not at the level. So I know why you're saying it, Darren, but you're literally saying we want to start with somebody that we know is not playing well.
Yeah,
that's literally what you're saying. Because we might bring someone else on who might do something.
Yeah.
The fact we're having this conversation is the conversation, right? It really is, right? So yeah, Calafiori was interesting. I agree with you, Harry, about double pivot. Definitely. And we said earlier, Darren, didn't we, about sometimes when you have a traumatic game like West Ham, you have to rebuild the base to say, we are not going to concede.
Yeah, foundations.
We're not going to score 2 goals in this game, so we can't concede. And from those foundations, can we progress forward and do something? So having that base allows our fullbacks to disappear. There's like 2+2, fullbacks can disappear a little bit, and then you have your 4 up front. But I still feel we look trapped in our structure up front. We look trapped in it, and I think we need to change that a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when you put Mikel Merino up front, obviously the obvious benefit is that he's quite good aerially. And if you can work the ball into those wide areas and you can get it in the box, he's got a presence and he's going to attack it.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but don't you think we become a little bit predictable
100%.
by having him?
Yeah. 100%. And the next point I was going to make is that if it's not that, you're going to get him dropping deep because he's a midfielder and naturally gravitates towards those areas. All good if you've got runners. If you've got runners wide of him or in your midfield that are going to get beyond him. But without that, he's really ineffective. And we had a conversation on Wednesday, was it last week or Thursday, Clive, where we were talking about the Sterling thing. Do you bring Sterling into the starting 11 and then bring Merino off the bench? I don't think there's a correct answer because you can make the case both ways. And the fact that we're in this position where we're debating that and discussing that says everything about how short we are in attack.
Do you know what it is? I just think when you start Moreno, and again, it's not his fault because he's not a natural centre forward, which I 100% I'll man up. But when you start with him, and then also just putting in crosses, it feels like just for the sake of it, because we've got a presence, it's really hard to then transition when Sterling does come on for Moreno potentially, to then change the way that you're playing. I think it's easier to go a little bit more direct later on in the game rather than starting that way. So I think we look a bit predictable, and then nothing really changes when Sterling comes on. But I mean, I guess the obvious question, and I'll come to you, Clive, is what other options have Arsenal got? Because we haven't got a recognised centre forward. There is no real goal threat other than Nwaneri. I think it's a bit unfair to say he's not, because I think he is. But what else can Arsenal do? Is there someone else we've not seen that we can try out there? Is it a case of, I mean, what do we do?
I don't think there's anybody else coming out the cupboard that we're not aware of.
I was hoping you knew someone that I didn't.
Everyone I know is about 13.
Yeah.
that's not going to work. I think the way that I would approach it is we have a number of defensive players who are available. We have a number of fullbacks that are available. I would definitely think about, I always use the phrase cradling the team with fullbacks. We've got 3 or 4 people that might score, that have got forward instincts. I'm not sure I want to see Ethan Nwaneri receiving the ball with chalk on his boots all game, because they want him there. He's a young man. If I can stop him travelling or get him going across the pitch, I don't want him near my box where he might get a shot off, because he might score, right? Same for Trossard. Odegaard struggling a little bit. So I think about getting those people closer together. That's my number one thing. The second thing I would do is I'd give them freedom. If you've got them cradled, you can allow them to move around. My second memory from last night is when Ethan went over to the left and got on the ball. He did it at West Ham as well, and I like that. Go somewhere else. That means you're breaking up your positional play, but we're in a situation where we need people to create. Creative players can only create if they've got people around them on the same mindset.
Yeah. If
they're that far apart from each other, you've got no chance, right? What you know what you do? You put it in the middle for you know who, your mate Merino. Well, that's all you can do, because that's what's left for you. So by bringing them closer together, you've got a chance to create a new picture that we haven't seen before.
Do you think that's why then we've not seen maybe the best of Odegaard? Because you just spoke about it really well there about the creativity and knowing who's about. Well, he's got Havertz no longer there anymore, who was kind of his bounce pass into Havertz. We know about Saka, he's not there. Ben White, we're used to Ben White marauding. So that every single player that he knows in and amongst him, certainly from an attacking sense, is not there. Do you think maybe that's why Odegaard a little bit, well, not even a little bit, it's fair to say, has struggled quite a lot recently?
I think that's a massive part of it. I think it's a huge part of it. I think you mentioned some of the options there that he's used to working with, and it's almost become telepathic over the last couple of years, where you kind of know what run he's going to make, you know what spaces they're going to be in, and you almost do it out of habit. And now you're having to check yourself every time you receive the ball, think twice, and that slight hesitation can allow a defender to get back in position, can allow someone to close the door on you. And I think that's a big problem for Martin Odegaard at the minute. And I think the fullback thing's quite significant as well, because I really like Jurrien Timber. I think he's a really good defender. But this is a guy that grew up as a centre-back. Yeah. Before he was at Arsenal, he was predominantly a centre-back. Played at right-back on a few occasions. We've used him at left-back a few times. But I think he's trying to do it, Jurrien Timber. I think he's trying to get down the right-hand side and get on the outside at times and help out and support. But I just don't think that comes naturally to him in the way that it does maybe a bit more for Ben White. And again, I sound like I'm contradicting myself, because he's a centre-back too, really by trade. But he seems to have developed into that role over time. And so not having the option inside of you, not having Saka wide of you, and then not having that upcoming run sort of on your right-hand side, I think is a problem for Odegaard. And I don't think we're going to see the best of him until we start getting some of those players back.
Would you ever consider changing shape, Clive?
Yeah, definitely. I would change shape. We've got a week now to think about what we want to do. And I don't think we can roll out the same system again for PSV. I don't. I think we should think about the profile of players in our wide areas. I'd rather it be attacking fullbacks, if you ask me honestly, and move our strikers slightly inside. Strikers, he says. move our forwards inside. And just on the Odegaard thing, I think if you look at his game, he brings the ball in, manipulates it, and then he moves it on to runners. right? So he's not dynamic himself as a mover and a carrier, but his passing allows dynamism. So Saka, Havertz, White, Timber, it doesn't really matter. People that go, they try.
Martinelli when he's there.
Yeah, they go from zone to zone. So now he's getting the ball. He does his little manipulation, looks up, no one's running, knocks it sideways. People have a go at him, holds on to it, gets smashed in a duel. And now he's looking for his game. So it's a struggle for him. Now we are looking at him through a lens of who's missing. And so basically, we want him to manipulate the ball and then run away from people and be brave and get shots off. And I don't think he can do it. I don't think he can do it. He's trapped in the system and he can't readjust because he's not dynamic. All our dynamism is not here.